Yo, what up, internet? Welcome to Bricks and Beer, episode 23. Welcome back to your favorite uncut, unedited, unprofessional, and uncensored podcast about Lego and beer. Yeah, I think that's it. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for watching, as always. Man, I did so much fucking prep work for this episode. None of it involves a base plate. So, if you want to watch the other ones, you can click somewhere in that vicinity. This is a really boring 48 wide base plate. Sorry. I hate the fucking annotations. So this one is gonna go a little long, but before we even get into it, speaking of sorry, like the Canadians, I gotta apologize, guys. The last episode was like fucking terrible. Like, awful. The worst yet. The deuce. Not my finest work. There's a bunch of excuses, like being half sick, fucking being out of the chair for a while, I guess, hadn't captained the ship for a month. Just, I felt rushed. There was a bunch of fucking other shit going on. So that being said, I just want to go back. No keyboard warriors have attacked me yet. But I kind of expect people to be like, Andrew, dude, you called it the multi-core magnetizer. I know, dude. I'm sorry. It's the mega-core magnetizer. Everybody fucking knows that, right? It's easy to mistake. So, mega, whatever. I also referred to this awesome part as a 2x2, which is a terrible misnomer. This is a 2x8 modified plate. It's old school. If I hit the glare, maybe you can see it. I said this was in, all the rovers, including the Blacktron 2 one. This is in fucking nearly every LEGO theme. Aquanauts, Space, Classic Space, Mtron Galore, Space Place 1, Space Place 2, Blacktron 1. None in Blacktron 2. So I lied. Horribly. This is not in the Grid Trekker. The Grid Trekker just has a flat plate. I should know that. I have one. I have a Redux I've done. I should know all this shit. Oh well, whatever. So anyway, I love this fucking plate. This is the old school jumper. I remember this came out with Space Place 2. Hopefully I'm not lying and making that up. I think this came out with Space Place 2. In gray or black, one of the two. And I was like, wow, this is so cool because it's like this, but like more useful. But I was like, motherfucker, why is it 2 bricks? You just wait long enough. LEGO answers your prayers. So yeah, fucking the last episode sucked. Sorry. This one should be better, I think. So, with that being said, I'm going to talk about the beer. I guess I'm drinking Rolling Rock tonight. You can tell my voice is a little shitty. Still, fucking kicking the cold out of me. It's been with me for weeks. It's crappy. So, I like light beer sometimes when I don't want to fucking go heavy, and Rolling Rock has kind of always been there. I don't know, it was always cheap. I used to buy a lot of beer at Rite Aid in college, and so I bought my Rolling Rock today, and it was fucking super cheap. And I came home and I went to put it in the fridge, and my wife bought this fucking shitty winter solstice beer at Whole Foods, and she had 2 left. One was off the plastic 6-pack thing. The super recyclable. We spend more shit tons of plastic. Instead of just the rings, it's a reusable thing. So there was one off, and I fucking moved it, and I was going to put my fucking beer in. And then there was one left on the thing. So I went to tear it off, and I tore the top of the fucking beer off, guys. And what this is, that you can't see at all, because there's mad glare, and this is always a bad idea, is a beer can with no top. And then the really super glary picture next to that, none of this is going to work well for us. No, bright as fuck. Oh, you can see, that's the case of beer that I bought, which this fucking opened-ass stupid beer dumped all over. So now, my delicious, crisp, refreshing Rolling Rock, I have to wipe down, or it smells like skunky, shitty winter solstice beer. So, fuck you, Whole Foods, and your shitty winter solstice beer. Wow, that was a little aggressive, but that's what I fucking came home to tonight, guys. So, welcome to my life. Hopefully you guys are drinking some decent beers. Continue to let me know what kind of beers you guys are drinking. That's always cool. I'm always curious as to like what people do when they watch this, because I assume people can't just like actually watch this all the time, especially when they go long. And this one's gonna go fucking long. So you should get some beers, and you should get like a drawer of unsorted Lego, and just get your shit together. Like just start sorting. Like, whatever the fucking thing that you've been putting off, jump on that. That would be a good time. So, what are we gonna talk about tonight? We're gonna talk about one dude, and this is kind of weird because this is kind of like the episode with the dude, except he's not here. But there's reasonings to this. So just to like kind of prep you guys for how this is gonna go, I'm gonna show a bunch of Lego. I'm gonna show some models. So that's cool, right? Everybody likes looking at the builds. I'm gonna show one new thing, which is super cool. And I could just like show you that. But like the context of why this thing is cool, beyond just the build, has to be set. And for that to be set, we have to talk about Keith. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Goldmania himself. Fucking cheers to you, sir. Keith Goldman, man. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and we've known each other for fucking a long time, which is weird. Like, I feel fucking old. So yeah, Keith and I met at my first LEGO convention in '07, where I got this shirt, which is fucking awesome, and you guys don't have one. I guess I'll talk more about the shirt shortly, but before you even jump into this, if you don't know who Keith Goldman is, you could just go check out, like the internet. But instead, if you can do it, I'm going to link to a bunch of shit. Like, this episode's just going to be a pain in the dick. Like, because I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to have to link to a bunch of shit. So there's going to be a shit ton of links way down there in the description, nowhere on the screen. And you should kind of go through it chronologically, because that's how I want to go through it, and I think that will provide the most context for, like, the new Lego and what's going on. If you fucking hate that idea, just skip to the end. I don't know how long this is going to be. I'd go somewhere towards that way, I think. I think that's how it works. I don't know. Maybe we're going back in time. So, BrickCon '07, I've talked about the Omicron weekend before. I've talked about fucking meeting Keith and Palmer and Newman and Brom and Dan and Zach, and like, that was a fucking pretty life-changing moment for me. And like, the people were cool and everything, but like, the whole reason why that con was spectacular was because of the Omicron weekend. Like, I sort of lucked out in that I feel like I just have, and this happens to me a lot, I feel like in life, like, I work for shit, but I get lucky a lot of the times, and I kind of like just stumble into shit at the right time, like, oh, of course, yeah, sure. And then it just, pays off. So like, I felt like that first convention that I went to, there was a big display there, the Omicron weekend. This giant dio. I'm really bad at this. The Omicron weekend. This shirt's also fucking XL, so I'm like swimming in it, which is pretty good times. So the Omicron weekend, which is linked below, which you guys should check out, is a dio put on by 3 dudes. Keith Goldman, the mastermind, Mike Rutherford, who's hilarious and awesome and builds fucking great shit. Functional, thought out shit. And then Ryan Rubino, who's super cool. I like Ryan. He's of those 3, of that like trilogy, he was like the quiet straight man. Ryan actually, I think, still works at Legoland. I'm not really sure, but he's kind of dropped off the like hobby scene, which I get. Like, if you got to do it for work, like, it does become a job, which is unfortunate. Anyway, so these 3 dudes show up. I've never met any of them. And Keith is a very personal dude. He's hilarious. And they have this fucking mind-blowing dial. And what's crazy about it is it's huge. It's like train layout, town layout, huge. But it's space. And it's not moon base. Because, like, I've been talking to Keith a lot. We have like a virtual relationship for the most part. Like I've hung out with Keith and shit, obviously, but we text a lot, during the day, like in between the madness of work and whatever. And we were talking about, I was telling him about the weekend and how it's pretty much a list of firsts. It's like all this different shit. And he was like, no, but Moonbase did it and Train did it and like all these other people. Number one, they didn't do it with space. And like the Moonbase thing, yes, they collaborated, people collaborated, but there was no unifying thing. It wasn't planned, it wasn't thought out. It was just like, here's a way for it all to fit together physically, but thematically, the only thing is like it's in space. Which is why sort of Moonbase on a whole kind of fails, because it's just like, here's a McDonald's, next to a Starbucks, next to a space Walmart, next to a space I built a fucking giant square with rainbows shooting out the top. Or like, I don't know, people kind of just go like a little bonkers and it never works. It feels very disjointed and it should feel cohesive. So like Moonbase doesn't do it. It's great. I love the concept and the idea of Moonbase. And certainly I've seen rad Moonbases. So don't take that as me totally shitting on Moonbase. But, so it doesn't have the cohesiveness. The train layouts do. But there's no anima. There's no style. There's no story. The thing with Keith's dios, all of them, and I'm going to talk about a bunch. And Keith obviously does more things than collabs, but we're just going to kind of touch on that tonight. Is that like, it brings a bunch of people together who have one singular vision, or at least they collaborate to sort of bring together one similar vision, and it all works. And it tells a bigger story. That's where Keith really excels, because like what he's doing when he builds all these big things, and I'm extrapolating this, I don't mean to speak for Keith, is that like he is painting a moment in time. He's telling a story. He's very much like the narrator who wants to show and doesn't want to tell. And all of his shots are amazing. Like I really like that Keith is a somewhat pretentious person, self-admittedly, in that he only really likes to show polished shit. Like, he's very intentional, he's very concerned about people's perceptions of his art. Which is cool. Like, I get it. I get why that it's like, he wants to have just a classy resume. He doesn't want shitty whip pics out there with people fucking just going to town, keyboard warrioring shit. And, like, people, like, posting whip pics is a weird thing, right? Because, like, I've done it. I've done it for September, which sometimes is cool. Like, Mike Yoder, he's a dude who posts a lot. Like, when he's building, it's just like you're hanging out with him. He's just, his internet presence is heavy during that time. And it's cool, because you kind of have influence, and you get a peek behind the curtain, and you get to see all this stuff. But then there's a shit ton of people who just, like, tell you dumb shit. Wow. Don't burp and try to say shit. So yeah, it's kind of, whatever. So Keith, in those singular images, because he's not showing you a billion angles and like, here's the rest of the fucking living room or whatever there is, he's telling you a story. He's painting a picture. So Omicron did that, and it did it on a huge scale, and it wasn't a single dude. It was a bunch of dudes. It was 3 dudes. So that, to me, is like the first real collab dio. And I think it was a game changer. Because it wasn't just a dio, it was a full experience. They had a banner hanging underneath the table, which said Keith Lug. It was the first non-geographic lug. It was fucking Keith Lug. They had a soundtrack. Like, fuck Keith, I fucked this up. I was going to dig into this closet and try to find my Keith Lug soundtrack, because it's in like a book of a billion CDs that I never listened to, just because CDs. And it's somewhere in a closet. But I did fucking dig out the swag, the fucking 9-year-old shirt, dude. Like, this is 9 years old. And it doesn't fucking fit me at all, so I like can't wear it in public. Because I kind of look a little too thuggish. But yeah, and on the back of this is the fucking hook monkey, which, if you guys don't know what a hook monkey is, you should go to the Omicron weekend. You should look. And in the Omicron weekend, there's a habitat module, this big, awesome wheel thing that Ryan Rubino built. And inside several of the modules are like scientific experiments gone awry. And one of them is just a habitat full of, hook monkeys. Because when you're making mad science, why would you not graft laser hooks onto monkeys? Um, so yeah, so I guess if I turn around at some point during this, you'll see the back of my shirt. It says the Hook Monkey Tour 2007. 9 years old, dude. Fucking crazy. Um, so it fucking changed everything. Like, really, it changed the whole game. Like, the whole Keith Lug thing, it was like, and Keith had obviously been around in the scene, and he built the Ghoul, and everybody knew about that, and like, he's a cool dude. But like, this was like next level shit, dude. Like, off the chain. Like, oh fuck, dude. And the greatest thing about the weekend was it was huge, and it ramped up in the back, so we could all sit behind it and like talk shit and hide from the public and all of this stuff. And it was like our own little secret fucking Keith Lug hideout behind the weekend. And fucking like, it was a whole experience. It was just like magical. So we're hanging out and there's hook monkeys and fucking the soundtrack, and like it formed a whole camaraderie within that group of people. And then people on the internet who saw it were like, how the fuck does that happen? So it was a game changer. It was fucking like a 0 point of like, oh, you can do this. Because before that, Keith was building dios. And the dude's a crazy man. Like, he builds just gigantic Lego things. Like, that's what he does. But he was doing it alone. And then when he brought other people in, I think because it became the experience, it was great. Like, I think Keith could have one-man banded it. Like, he could have brought an equivalent thing of the Omicron weekend and done all his shit and brought the t-shirts and everything. But, like, Mike Rutherford is the ultimate hype man. Like, he literally would stand all day, both public days, and just bullshit with people. And then he would be there all the time. Like, I don't think there was ever a time that, like, we went to the Dio that Rutherford was not there, and if Rutherford was not there, Keith was there. Like, there was something about, like, just fucking Mike was just PRing the shit out of everything. And explaining Keith Lug, and explaining all the whole fucking story, the concept. Like, it was great. It was fucking mind-blowing. So I can't mention Keith Lug without mentioning Chief Lug. Shout out to you, Ryan. Because there were a bunch of, like, this is like a first and a domino. So, you know, this is the prologue, in a way. And fucking Chief Lug happens, which is Rye, Chief. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do something like Keith because Rye wants to put together a collaborative display now. Because that's a thing. You can just do that. You can fucking rally people and go, hey, this is the plan. And it was really easy. Like, I built a Viper for shits and giggles and was like, yo, Chief, check this out. And then he built one, somebody else built one, and then it was like, build the Raptor, and that was like, build a giant 12-foot hangar. Okay, guys, we can do that as a group. So we did that, and like, it was great. It was an awesome time. And then I think shortly thereafter, or shortly before, I might have this fucked up, but we did the Omicron micro version, the small O, big M, micro, small n, Omicron, micro n. Anyway, small micro scale version for a contest, which ultimately Zach won. So shout out to you, Zach. And all of this is fucking like a long time ago. So this is all gonna be like shitty, half-remembered stories from 2008, 2007. Like, it's fucking a while back. So, and I don't have anything to show quite yet. We're getting to the Lego showing part. But you have to understand the whole, like, ripple effect of this. So we do the BSG thing. We do the micro version of the weekend. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that's going to be great. And in between doing the BSG thing and the micro weekend thing, the highway happens. 0 hour on Highway 44, which 07 to 08. So it's basically a year. But Keith says, instead of just doing 3 dudes, I'm just going to build this giant thing and bring all these people in to populate it. And the way it was structured was brilliant, because Here's the thing about collaborative displays that I've learned. No one wants to build the scenery. Rarely do people want to build the scenery. Sometimes they might want to build a gimmicky part of the scenery, like, I'll build a tower or something. But, like, they're not building gigantic swaths of landscaping or buildings or architecture or anything like that. Keith is. So Keith's master plan was to build all of the landscaping of this thing, which is a gigantic freeway with a riser and buildings and a monorail and a subterranean level, like fucking the standard insane Keith Goldman. We're going huge. And then just have other people populate it. So he rooked a bunch of people in who were all super stoked. Like, after this experience, after the fucking Hook Monkey tour, people were dying. Oh, and I gotta go back to the Hook Monkey tour. Because one of the things that we were, like, discussing behind this giant Lego display with our little, man-child fort was Keith wanted to have a fucking panel to discuss the Dio. And, like, in one sense, I'm like, you should have totally done that, because of course people want to know about this. Like, Mike Rutherford's doing the PR speech. You just put him up there with a microphone. It's great. On the other hand, it would have also been fucking hilarious. Because Keith was like, we got to get mariachis, dude. And for those of you not in the know, Keith is from California originally. And shout out to SoCal, and lives in fucking Vegas. Mariachis are a Mexican band. Like, the full sombrero, like, deal, like, loud brass instruments right behind you as you're trying to dig into pozole or whatever. Fucking, like, I have a weird story about mariachis. When I was, like, 13, we went to El Torito in La Jolla, which is not even, like, a real Mexican place. And we were, like, eating for my birthday. It was just me and my mom. And the mariachi band fucking snuck up right behind me and then did the loud Mexican, like, whistle thing. Fucking terrified me. It was not a fun experience. But anyway, I love mariachi music, and I love mariachis. Just not when they're like ninjas. So Keith was going to have this entire ridiculous, like, second part of the experience. Which is so cool. Like, the dude is fucking legendary. So he puts on this highway, right? And this is this massive 6 foot by 8 foot, literally 4 feet tall, fucking crazy thing. Like, what it has is Brian Kasenovich, aka Monday Noodle, super talented dude. He built a mecha army, and there was a story. And the story was they were fucking stopping the traffic and closing it so the army could move through. And so there was all this gridlock. And it was called Zero Hour on Highway 44. And I have some builds from it. And they're old as shit. This was 2008. But they're cool. And it'll make sense. So I built a fuck ton of stuff. I'll link, obviously, to Omicron Weekend and the Micro Weekend and all that shit down there. I'll link to the Highway Weekend. Also link to the Roll Call shout out. Because Keith had 19 people besides himself involved in this. It was fucking, like, Keith is the dude who is so charismatic that people fucking just want to build for. Like, he's the dude who can call to arms the best builders ever. So, like, on the Omicron Weekend, Soren Roberts had a design that he fucking worked with Keith on, and he was like, bam, here you go. And you could tell. And it was like, holy shit. It was the first time and only time I've ever held, like, a real Soren Roberts build in my hand. Shout out to you, Soren. So, fucking the highway's crazy. He's got 20 fucking people involved, including himself. And there's all these roll call shots. So you can see what different people built, because this highway was so big that there's just fucking gridlock everywhere. And Keith is really cool about this, because Keith's whole thing is storytelling, right? So what he did is he called this Opus of Buildings, builds, not buildings, he did all the buildings, from all these different people, and they all brought shit, and then he just sort of mixed and matched and told stories and took different photos and rearranged shit. So it's not like, here's 27 photos of a static display. It's almost like the thing has more life because the traffic is literally mixing up and moving and things are changing and all this different stuff. So I built a fuck ton of stuff. Like, I was going to build a car, and then I was like, cool. And I built a couple of cars. So the first thing I built was this little car. This is like a little future ride. It's pretty cool. It's compact. I really like this. It's only 6 sides wide, and then the tires stick out, a little bit more than that. The windscreen's functional, so it opens up. And what's really trick about this is that this goes from 5 up here, courtesy of double jumpers, to 4. And it fits over these panels, and it works pretty well. And it traps a little minifig in there. So he's got like his, little commercial hatchback, small, efficient car. So I built 4 of these. I only have 3 of these built right now. The yellow one died for some reason. The yellow one had an opaque black windscreen. So I've got a red one. He's got a windscreen graphic because he's cool. And yeah. Oh, and there's like a subtle difference in the taillights. Yeah, there you go. 13, that's my favorite number. This has the Exoforce, license plate. Old as fuck, like I said from a while ago. There's the blue one. The blue one's pretty cool. It's got these cool stickers that came with the turbo sets, whatever those were called, the little mighty turbos. This dude's pretty funny. He's got a pretty rad hat on, so boom. So I built these 4, I guess at the time. There's only 3 remaining. And then I built a fuck ton of other stuff, but like most of it, sans the time, has eaten. So I built a bunch of trucks, like big semi-trailer trucks and shit. All that's gone. I do have a pickup truck left. I like this one a lot. I like this for a bunch of reasons. Like, it's just clean. It feels utilitarian. It feels commercial and civilian and, like, functional. I also really like the color palette. So it's regular green, dark green, and then just the splash of the decal. And that's it. It's like super simple. Got a tailgate, a bed. The bed, I think I had one of these in there with some barrels or some shit. So it can take this, it can take this, like you can enclose all of that. You can even go to the bigger crate size, the like huge crate. It doesn't quite fit, but you can kind of ghetto it in there, which looks appropriate. Like, that's cool. I like the windscreen. The hinge is at the bottom, so technically it's snotted, even though it's like basically symmetrical. So fucking highway traffic shit. I did build a bunch of other shit, like I said. I'll link to a photo of all the crap I built. The coolest thing about all this crap I built, though, is I got to bring it to Keith. Because I got one of those weird Lego phone calls from the homie Gary. And literally I've never gotten a phone call from Gary that doesn't start with, "Hey, bro." So Gary calls me and he goes, "Hey, bro, you want to go to Vegas to see Crystal Method and take your shit to Keith and stay there for free?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I do." So Gary and I knew each other for a while, but like we didn't really know each other. You learn a lot about a dude when you take a 6-hour car ride to Vegas. Spend less than 24 hours in Vegas and then make a 6-hour car ride back. We had a fucking crazy time. Like, it was mind-blowing. Like, Keith's house, and Keith no longer lives in this house. Hopefully, Keith, your new pad is equally as glorious. Because this had a fucking real effect on me. Like, this is the goal. This is when you know you've made it. So we go to Keith's awesome fucking house. And Gary, and we take my shitty Toyota Corolla at the time. And Gary, before we leave, he puts 3 K8 boxes of Lego in my trunk. And K8 boxes are huge. They're like fucking giant boxes. Like 3 boxes is 2 in the trunk, 1 in the back seat. And we're like, cool, we're fucking jamming about Lego and all this stuff. And Gary is a very open dude. So I don't feel like any of this information that I'm about to disclose is disparaging or meant to talk shit or anything or like embarrass him. But like, fucking, we're driving out there, and fucking Gary and I are like obviously having bro time. And Gary's like, "Yeah, bro, I'm gonna get divorced," and I'm like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that. What's happening? We're going to Vegas." And he's like, "Fuck yeah, we are. We're going to Vegas, and we're gonna see Keith and the Crystal Method, and it's gonna be awesome." I'm like, "Cool, okay, I think I know what I'm getting into." So we show up, and fucking Keith, a gentleman, like, he's like, "Yes, come in, come on, guys." Like, he has this epic dining room table. It's huge, mahogany, and fucking like super adult. And me and Gary fucking like bring in these three K8 boxes. And Gary is the Lego rock star. He was at the time working at the shop at the park meaning Legoland, California, and being like the PR guy as well, and like fucking just like had the hookups. And he's like, "I got you what you needed, Keith." And he proceeds to fucking razor open three giant K8 boxes and dump the contents onto this like 12-foot mahogany giant dining table. And inside each of these K8s are three different colors of leaves. One color of leaf parts in each one. Let's see if I don't fucking drop this on my head. So, like the leaf parts. But there's variations of this. And Gary just dumps these like key-sized fucking air-filled poly bags of three different colors of leaves with the three different greens in two or three different sizes. Like, he's fucking Pablo Escobar of Lego. Table full of it. And he goes, "Yeah, it's pretty cool, guys. Like, right? I got you the three varieties, different sizes." He's completely playing this up. And he goes, "It's the best part, though, guys." And he grabs one of these poly bags and he goes, "Okay. Breathe out." And he opens the poly bag and he goes, "Breathe in." That's straight from Denmark ABS lead and air. And like, it did kind of smell like Denmark. And it was magical. So like, that's how the weekend starts. And then we go upstairs, and Keith's Lego room is fucking phenomenal. He has number one, a 6-foot by 8-foot table, which is some people's Lego rooms. Like, that's ridiculous. And it fits in this giant room, and it fits well. It's not cramped. And there's Lego fucking everywhere. And it's super classy. And on top of this 6 by 8-foot table is a 6 by 8-foot dio that's 4 feet tall on the back. So I got to place all my little cars on the fucking freeway. And like, I kind of showed up a little early. So like, the majority of like, the highway was open and I was fucking around. It was fucking great. And we saw Crystal Method. And that was awesome. And Gary and I went out all night, and then I fell asleep on a couch in a residential part of Las Vegas and woke up at 7 in the morning and called Keith and said, "Yo, I'm going to go find an address, and I think you need to come pick us up." And then I like crashed for some more time, and then I drove Gary to San Diego and dropped him off and went and partied with Paul and Fradel. So it was fucking crazy. It was like the greatest Lego weekend of my life. Like, nobody does that. Nobody takes a fucking random road trip to Vegas, sees the Crystal Method, has a crazy adventure, sees the crazy giant dio, and then drives back and is like, "Oh, I'm unemployed for the time being. I'll just stay in San Diego with the other bros from Ronin Mug." So yeah, it was fucking awesome. And clearly my name is now Captain Nostalgia. So that was the highway. That's 0 hour on Highway 44. So I do have one more thing from it, but it's been modified, and it's a transitionary piece, which is good. So Keith's whole thing for the highway was no floating vehicles. Everything had to be wheeled. So everything I built was, conventional, but near future takes on wheeled vehicles. 0 hour is the next big domino, right? Like this, I got these two huge, like, this is the best of Lego Bro time. So this next huge domino clicks down a bunch of other dominoes. So I'm inspired by Keith. Keith and I have similar interests in pop culture and media and shit. Like, the first time I met him, I have a ridiculous Flickr name, which is Ono Sendai 2600. which basically means I'm a nerd. What Ono Sendai is the manufacturer of the cyberspace deck that the main character in the book, Neuromancer, uses to hack into the Matrix and free the robot. Spoilers. Just read the book. Neuromancer, William Gibson, like angry young man's book, the biggest influence on my life. And then 2600's like a hacker thing when I thought it was cool when I was like 15. So that's my stupid username. And Keith walks up and he goes, "Oh, what's up? You're burning Chrome?" Because that's like a short story collection by William Gibson. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And so he's called me Chrome fucking for 9 years. Now I'm Captain Nostalgia. I hope that doesn't fucking stick. So anyway, because this whole cyberpunk thing, right? I'm seeing Keith's shit. I build a tiny little dio. A small little contained dio. My first real dio. It's called Running in the Shadows. It's from fucking generic cyberpunk city time. And there's like, razor girls outside and cars and shit. And so I had bled some of the traffic over from the highway for that. So like I was using these because these were cool, and I also had a much earlier version of Running in the Shadows that I also like had. So like I saw Omicron Weekend. I built the first version of Running in the Shadows, which I don't even think I have real photos of. I think those are on Brickshelf. And then like I reduxed it a little bit when I did the highway stuff, and then based off of showing that at Bricks by the Bay, the first one, Brian Hines was like, dudes, we got to do the Cyber City for real. Like, not a tiny little 18-inch thing. Like, we should all do it. And at this point, like, collabs are a thing, right? Like, it can happen. Like, it's been proven that with not a huge amount of effort. I mean, it's a lot of effort. Like, Keith goes above and beyond. Keith gets fucking shirts printed and nonsense and makes soundtracks and, like, all these things, which I do outside the shirt printing thing. But, like, he set the model for it. And so we were like, dude, we could do the fucking Cyber City. And so we did the Cyber City at Bricks by the Bay 2011. And it's, to date, like, the thing that where people ask me, like, non-Lego people ask me, like, number one, what's the biggest thing you've ever built? I refer to that. And then they go, like, what's the coolest thing you've built? And I go, yeah, it was this thing that I did with 14 other people from all over. Keith sent me a building from Vegas. Like, I had other people fucking mailing shit. People were building shit, like, on the way there. Shout out to the homie Cole Black. He fucking, like, he made a design, and I was like, yo, can I copy this design and tweak it for the Cyber City? And he was like, yeah, go for it. So, one of the things that was in the highway was the CUDA. But the CUDA had wheels, and it was like the Nash Bridges car, because I like Don Johnson and Nash Bridges, and Miami Vice, and all that other bullshit. So this had wheels, but then for Cyber City, we were like, we can do floating traffic, because it's future, like, doesn't have to be near future kind of shit. So I replaced the wheels with hover pads, and I really fucking love this. Like, this is super cool. It's old as fuck, but I'm probably going to keep it together. I was really proud of this trick, how this sloped tile meets this curved part pretty much seamlessly, which is pretty sexy. Like, it works really well. And it's, it's not super complicated, but it's clean. It's nice. So, this went in the Cyber City, as did a fuck ton of other things. So I have some of the cars from the Cyber City. None of the, like, really, really cool shit survives. It all kind of, like, disappears. I built a fuck ton of stuff for Cyber City, obviously. So I dug through this bin, and I found some shit. So there's a smart car. It's a little smart hover car. It's basically the Lego kit, the official smart car Lego kit, just done with hover pads and striping. This one's red. This one's closer to the official. This might actually be the prototype one that I started with. This shit was in a bin. This one is the Cole Black one that I was mentioning before. Fucking shout out to you, Cole Black. I can't believe this is still together, and it's super cool. It's like vintage hot roddy, but then it's super futury. This kind of reminds me of something that like should be in like the Animatrix in a way. Um, so yeah, there's that one, and then we built some bigger traffic, obviously. So this was like a little van dealio. Snotted windscreen, blue, light blue, windows, some sweet flame graphics in the back. Pretty simple. And one of the things I took away from Keith's Highway is when you have so much shit going on, you have this big display, like meticulously tinkering with the small things, as cool as that is, maybe isn't necessary. Like, all of the stuff I built for Keith had drivers and pilots and things. You know, there were people in the cars, and there were basic interiors. Like, this truck has, you know, some control panels and shit, no a steering wheel. So it's not just dudes floating in there. But, like, I didn't worry about functional doors. Like, I was just like, fuck it. Like, it's fine. So, like, there's no functional doors on this. This is basically a cube. But it's a nice snotted cube with some shapes and shit, and it's recognizable. And when you have this in a mass, it's good. It's perfect. So the other thing I've got from the Cyber City, well, I got two things. I got this. Shout out to the homie Fredo. I think I built this out of Fredo's Lego, fucking like way back when. Or maybe this was mine. I don't know. It's probably a combination of our twos. This was just like a weird little like Shiro-esque little robotic tow truck thing. Just wanted to build it, fuck around one night when I was hanging out with the boys. So we threw that in there, so that's still around for some reason. And then the last one I've got from the Cyber City is the bus. So we made some municipal shit, obviously. Here's your friendly bus driver in there. He's alien and angry because, you know, reasons. Probably because he drives the fucking bus. There's a door, so you can go inside the bus. There's no seating in here or other people. But, you know, whatever. It looks like a bus. And I work kind of in advertising. So, like, I replicated Bus Kings. That's what the ad on the side of the bus is called. And the bus back. One of the things that also was going on in the Cyber City hardcore was a lot of stickers and a lot of different kinds of graphics. So just like holographic kind of shit that we were trying to replicate. So on top of here, boom, holographic Minority Report-esque billboard ad as it's driving by. And it's like, yo, your life sucks. You have to take the bus in the Cyber City. The angry dude. Yeah. So there you go. See, I'm building my own worlds. Taking a note from you, Keith. Whew, we're getting there. We're getting there. I told you guys this one's gonna go long. Like, this one's fucking crazy. If you're still listening to this, cheers. I'm gonna finish this beer. I'm gonna open another beer, and we're gonna continue on. We don't have that much longer. It feels long, but we're now up to 2011. So we're only like 5 years ago. So like we're getting there. Alrighty. 2 Rolling Rocks. I hope this bottle doesn't fucking break. I've had enough shitty experiences with beer exploding on me. I've also never used this Hanger 24 opener, and it's really bad. So, fuck you, Hanger 24. Cheers. I feel like I'm wearing like a bib for some reason. I never wear these like baseball style shirts. It's bizarre. So, built the Cyber City. It was awesome. It's on my credit card. I would show you that, but that would be a bad idea. And you know, this was the CUDA, and then it became the Cyber CUDA. And then I had to do a thing because I had to build something for Star Wars Days in 2011. And I was like, I'll build a Mos Eisley Cantina kind of deal. And I need a car. So I built this, which is basically the land speeder version of this. So, you know, this is the sexier CUDA version. This is the grimier Star Wars version. It's cool. It has a spoiler. That's nice, right? And some engines and shit. And yeah, it's all right. You know, I guess I'll link to Cantina ADU. That's what I called it, because Alien Conquest had come out, And yeah, and then Halloween rolled around. You can tell this is like car themed, you know. They see me rolling, maybe. Anyway, so I pulled all this car shit out of a bin of cars, and I figured I would just talk about this before we get to the the final show and tell, if you will. So Halloween happened. I built the haunted house, but it was a haunted house party, and I built a police car, and there you go. You know, they're patrolling, they hating, trying to catch you riding dirty. And then I built a slightly sexier version of the same deal. It's convertible. The fucking exhaust is falling off. At this time, I got my current car, which is a Honda CRZ, which is a cool little hatchback. And I was really into like modifying it and trying to make it a race rocket or a bat pod. So I built like a version of my car, and this is really shitty because my car is very hard and challenging to replicate in Lego. Like it's weird. Like I have a weird windscreen and stuff. So this is basically like a sexy S2K version, and this was like I'm gonna try to make a hatchback and fail. And it's black, and it doesn't show up at all on camera, which is kind of like my car, because my car is all black. I don't have white rims, I have black rims. I don't even have rims, I just have fucking painted black Honda wheels. Regardless. So, fucking collabs are a thing. Keith is a thing. He's got this ripple effect. It's rolling. 2013 comes. Hub 13. I didn't go to BrickCon that year, so I wasn't involved. I went to Japan, which was fucking rad. Shout out to you, Japan. So I didn't get to be part of the hub. And the hub was a collab like Omicron weekend, like the highway. Keith threw the invites out to people. There were a lot of new people involved this time. I think just because, it was like years later. So like Sai was involved and Pascal and like the new crew, I guess, ish. The middle crew, because I'm definitely the old as fuck crew now. So yeah, it was cool. I like virtually experienced it. It's actually really cool because I was like in a super nice hotel in Japan after like running around Japan all day. And we're like sitting there watching weird Japanese television, and I'm using the Wi-Fi, and I'm looking at Flickr and being like, the bros are partying right now, and the hub is great. So yeah, I mean, I guess I can't really speak too much to it. Okay, so that brings us to now, 2016, the big moment. So I talked to Keith about this, and he was like, you should do it, dude. So I'm going to talk about Keith's next dio. You haven't even seen it yet. It's in the future. It's coming. It's collab. I built something for it. I'm not going to show you any work in progress. Like, I'm not going to show the dio. I'll tell you in very broad terms about the dio. So it's near future. It's a giant cityscape, industrial, urban area. Keith builds fucking gorgeous dios. Like, dude, Goldman, I don't know how you do it. Like, it's a weird thing that I can tell. You can tell it's a Goldman dio. Like, not just because it's like, oh, you only have those parts and you use those parts in every dio, because I know that's what you're thinking, you fucking self-conscious bastard. It's not that. There's literally a clean style that is there, and it's a rare thing, I think, in a Lego builder, because not all of us think on that same scale. That whole, like, how does it read, and how big of a world, because I feel like all of us build dumb little shit, like these little cars and spaceships and stuff, and we imagine the worlds they live in, but we never build the worlds they live in. So Keith builds the worlds they live in. So before we even get into that and what Bucharest is, I gotta apologize to Keith. I'm kind of a dick. I'm sorry, bro. I got excited. So Bucharest, like all the rest of this shit, like the highway and G-Flug and all this stuff, has been sort of a private, closed group thing, right? None of you fuckers know about Bucharest. Hopefully, this is a Bricks and Beer exclusive. If you fucking hung out with me for an hour while I bullshitted about the history of Keith Goldman, now it's gonna pay off. So, it's a closed group, and I know all the people involved. There's fucking straight killers coming. Like, this is gonna be good. Brian K. Kasenovich, aka Monday Noodle. My tortoise went to sleep. The lights changed. Um, he's fucking bringing some shit. The homie Carter, like all these other people. All of which, like, I know for the most part. Like, Keith is amazing. He manages to get fucking international people. And I don't want to drop, like, shit tons of names because there's a lot of people involved. But Cole Black is involved, and Cole Black is like a dude I've wanted to work with forever. So there's like all this shit going on, and I have the Wacklug homies, which is me, Jeff, Aaron, Zach, the crew. And I got a little intoxicated the other night and told them about your dio, and I was like, yeah, Keith will let you in. Fuck it, like I'll let you in. And it was a poorly thought out decision. I definitely should have asked Keith beforehand. But here was my thinking, and here's my motivation. Not only are all the people I invited like well qualified and that they passed the coolness test, but what Keith does is super attractive for people that build the nonsense, because Keith basically builds the greatest playgrounds. Like, of course you want to be part of it, because it's a Goldman thing. And what Goldman means is that you don't have to build a landing pad and a moon-based module and 500 billion studs of rock work. Keith does that, and he gives you a world to play in. So of course everybody wants to be part of it. And I wanted to be part of it. And Keith invited me in, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm great, I'm in again. I've got all these other responsibilities. This is one of the like 4 things that's been fucking freaking me out. That's why the Deuce Deuce episode was the shittiest episode ever. So I was like, this is gonna work. It's gonna be fine. It's basically Keith builds the greatest like photo backdrop for a model. So let's talk about the dio itself. I'm sorry, Keith. I'm kind of a jerk. I'm glad you like all those dudes. I'm glad they're involved. No regrets? I feel shitty. That's kind of a regret, I guess. So anyway, I think that's all water under the proverbial fucking Cyber City bridge. And the dio itself. So Bucharest, a bus stop in Bucharest. Keith always has great titles for his dios. He's not really sure where it is. I think it's Bucharest. Might be Krakow. Might be Poland. It's 2028. It's not that far in the future, but it's future. And he's built this gorgeous dio. It's industrially, it's got crosswalks and roadways and buildings and bus stops and this entire backdrop just begging for life. So people are providing shit. And I'm not going to show you anybody else's stuff. I'm just going to show you the one thing I built for it. And then kind of, I guess I can talk about more of the detail. I don't want to show you all the deck cards in the deck or whatever. And obviously, like, Keith will take great photos, and it will be phenomenal, and you guys will be like, wow, Andrew was fucking right. This is amazing. So that being said, here's what the dio is. It's something for traffic. So the requirements that were thrown out to us, being the Keith Luganites, was build some future vehicles to populate this thing. But it's not the highway. And I think this is where Keith gets a little, not pretentious, but like sensitive. He's a sensitive artist. He's like, fuck, it's not the highway. And I'm like, okay, bro, I understand that. The highway was in 2008. It was fucking a long time ago. And the highway's huge. The highway was literally a freeway that you needed to fill with gridlock. So it's the ultimate fly-in venue. It's I could just smash shit sideways in here and it will look great. And it doesn't have to be cohesive or well thought out because it's a freeway. As long as it looks like it could go on a freeway, it's perfect, right? So he has to be a little bit more selective about this one. And I get that, and I think that he kind of Keith kind of fucked himself in a lot of ways in that everything he's done has been amazing. So, like, this first one, game changer. Like, off the chain, game changer. The Highway, game changer. Like, all of that stuff had these phenomenal, like, touch points. So now, when he does things and they don't work out exactly like the vision is, and the hang isn't quite as good, because I feel like this is chasing the dragon, right? This is like this magical once in a lifetime moment in time, like all the planets aligned, and they were like, "This is gonna be the greatest Lego weekend ever," and like that's happened a couple of other times, but like because of that, if it happens and it's just a thing and it's just a weekend and you just show up and you build some stuff with other people and you put it together and it looks not bad. Like, I didn't think the hub looked bad. I think Keith is a little gun shy about the hub. Like, he doesn't want to really acknowledge that one. It wasn't bad. But I can see how, because of there's all this past comparison shit, when you look at the hub and you look at the highway and you look at the weekend, it doesn't necessarily, like, step up. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It just doesn't mean that it was elevated beyond the highway. But also, it's like the highway sort of sets this unrealistic expectation. Like, it has to be savage, and it has to be huge, and you have to include 20 people, and you don't. And so, like, yet again, I'm a jerk. I invite more people in. I feel like it's a continuously mixing thing. So, the Dio itself is not supposed to be civilian. It's not like one-seater rocket cars and Honda Civics and motorbikes and shit. This is straight up like in the middle of nowhere warehouse district kind of shit. And Keith and I had talked kind of a little bit before I got invited into this. He was like showing me photos and talking shit to me about it and whatnot. And I'm looking for a quote. I'm not checking Twitter. And what he told me was like, he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure what it is yet, but Coal Black is on board. And Coal Black built the first vehicle. And I'm not going to, like, tell you about Coal Black's vehicle beyond it's a hazmat truck. And it's super future-y. So this is the quote from Keith. He says, it might be a factory or a power plant or a transit station. I'm not sure yet. I began work without a clear idea, so you're going to have to be comfortable working on your contribution with a little ambiguity. I believe that your contributions and suggestions will help to ultimately define the scene. Which, like, that's the beauty of Keith. It's like he's the storyteller. So we just want to provide characters and set pieces and things where interaction can happen. So Coal Black has built a truck. It's gorgeous. A couple of other fucking heavy hitters have built some stuff. I built a truck. And here it is. Finally, after an hour, it's just a truck. It's a fuel tanker, you know? Like a gas truck. See? It says fuel. Back that ass up. I like this hockey torso here. I think that's a cool move. And it's got, you know, robotic fuel arms in the trailer, which I guess I'll show you. But first, this is like the equivalent of the spaceship swoosh, is the truck steering. You know, they see me rolling. I really like the cab. The cab is super cool. It's got two of my favorite windscreens. This is the Agents truck windscreen that came out when Agents first came out. And this super nice, smooth, sloped one. So they look good in combo. It looks good in profile. Here we go. Pull this shit out. Kabam! Refueluary. And yeah, so, you know, let it reach out and touch you. It's refueling, you know, you and shit. The truck does have opening doors, which are kind of cool when the handle doesn't break off. And, you know, shit goes according to plan. So there you go. It's got an open door. You can see the dude in there. It's not an overly complicated interior, but he does have apparatus to drive the truck. And it's not 22, the Deuce, because that's the shittiest episode. This is episode 23. That's it. It's coming. Bucharest. Fucking shout out to Keith and all the hook monkeys. Oh, fuck, man. That was long as shit, Keith. Like an hour. This is crazy. So, that's fucking episode 23. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of talking and a lot of Lego. Um, fucking before I go, I do want to talk about some other shit. I've been telling all you that I bought all the Nexonites. Boom. There's some proof. Look at my Nexonites. Ah, it's awesome. What's even more awesome than that, and this is totally inspired by Jeff, is my Demon Horde. This is so metal. This is metal as fuck. Also in the new Lego department, I bought a water dragon. It's cute as shit. It has a super crazy color. Great wings. Like, awesome, articulated, cool wings. Coolest fucking part about this, you get 3. Not quite sure why. So I bought 2. So I got some wings. And then lastly, before I go, shout out to fucking Canada, eh? Like, it's coming up. The next episode, if I don't do one between now and Canada, eh? It's gonna be great. Like, I've got something awesome planned, and if I can pull this off, you guys are in for a treat. So shout out to the homie Aaron and Langrish and Morrow and all the fucking people going to Vancouver. Can't wait to party with you guys. Can't wait to actually meet Aaron's fucking lady friend. Like, she watches the show, which is weird. I have a female viewer. It's odd. Apparently, it's a small aside, and then fucking we're gonna get out of here for real. The other night, I was video chatting with Aaron on like a hangout thing, and his lady friend was there, and she was like, "Wow, it's weird to hear Andrew's voice and not have a beer." So she had like the Pavlovian response of like hearing this bullshit and drinking beer. So if that's a thing, I guess that's fucking awesome. Last but not least, one final shout out, and then we're out of here until next time. Mr. Mike M, aka Lego Minded. Cheers to you, bro. Mike is super cool. You should check him out. He's a great builder. He sent me a private message. I'm not going to share it. It was fucking great. Like, he's a like-minded dude. So fucking from Cali to Florida, yo. Bring some beer. Till next time, guys. Peace.